Ayan na, eto na talaga. Ayan, alam ko na may mga mainis na naman sa akin. Bakit ka nag-ayan na yan? Kasi ganito talagang politika natin mga kameta. I mean, if it were up to me, ang gusto kong pag-usapan yung mga social na bagay. Gusto kong pag-usapan ng global geopolitics, gusto kong pag-usapan ng US-China rivalry, gusto kong pag-usapan ng, I don't know, electric vehicles, gusto kong pag-usapan. Alam mo, maraming gustong pag-usapan na actually I've been writing on dun sa mga international publications natin. And by the way, of course, meron tayong incoming journal articles, Journal of Democracy naman, di ba? Among others. So marami tayong mga ginagawa, di ba? Pagdating sa academic works natin, global tayo mga kameta. Pero, pagdating sa Pilipinas, dahil may paki naman tayo sa ating bansa, dahil wala naman tayong manok pagdating sa politika, pero ang tanging concern po natin, yung kalagayan ng ating bansa, yung welfare ng ating mga kababayan, ay eto kasing problema. Every time na mag-update tayo sa Philippine politics, may nangyari na naman na kakaiba. Kaya ayan na naman yung sasabihin natin. Kasi yun naman talaga, 'di ba? Kung si Insan, mekos-mekos ang kanyang take dun sa kanyang mga ano, ako naman ang take ko sa politika natin, ayan na. So, wala anong gagawin ko? Pilitin natin na happy everything. Hindi naman talaga eh. So, eto na. Eto na, nagbubuljakan na. Nagbubuljakan na. And today, feeling ko matutuwa. Dalawang kampo sa akin. Ang mga matutuwang kampo sa akin today, mga ka-DDS at mga kakamping. Alright? Talagang only in the Philippines, no? Isang araw, binabash ako ng mga ka-DDS. Tapos pinoprotect tayo ng mga loyalista, mga kakamping. The next day naman, ito, baliktad naman. Medyo doon naman tayo sa kabila. Alright, magpabash naman tayo sa kabilang kampo ngayon. Yay. Okay. 1987 Constitution and Chacha. Pag-usapan natin yan mga kameta. Sorry gusto kong mangyari ngayon is i-space din natin para 4 platforms na tayo. I think, God willing, this will be the first time ever na quadrilateral tayong okay. Ito na. Para go na tayo. Kulang tayo ng mga dito. Okay, ito na. Okay. So now we have key figures from both the ideological opposition, ibig sabihin Liberal Party, Progressive Parties, at functional opposition. Essentially, ito yung mga kampo ng mga Duterte or mga supporters of Duterte. Both of them raising alarm bells dito sa posibilidad na baka ma-railroad itong Chacha. Alright? Na baka magkaroon tayo ng railroading ng Chacha. So, pagdating sa ating infrastruktura, medyo matagal-tagal gumagawa ng mga roads or rails. Pero pagdating sa politika natin, mabilis ang mga bagay-bagay. So, pwedeng i-railroad ang mga bagay-bagay. Alright, okay. Ito na. So, both Amy Marcos and also, I just saw dito sa ating Twitter, si Congressman Excel Ladman are making some very, very big allegations. Namely, that some powers that be may be using, hindi natin alam saan galing mga pera na yan, may be using financial incentives to push for charter change. Pag-usapan natin itong mga allegations na yan at saka ano yung mga implications na yan very shortly. But before that, we need to have some background. And before talking about some background, let's go to what I consider as the worst ever political advertisement I've ever seen. Although, hindi ako magtataka na there'll be worse than that. Akala ko nga si Robin Padilla yung dyan magsistar dito. Alright, muna tayo mga kamets. Mag-special mention naman tayo dito sa etong nagte-trending na walang yung ibang klase talaga itong advertisement na yan. Ayan. I-echepwera natin itong advertisement na yun. Alam niyo na yan ito. Pinost ko kanina. Ay. Talagang ating bayan. Ayan na talaga. Ito. Wait lang. Wait lang. Chill lang. Ilabas natin. Wala naman tayong Twitter account na totoo dito sa na to. Okay, okay guys, ito, very artistic work ito. Itong kaiwanan na to. Tingnan natin. Ito, mga kameta, pinaghirapan naman daw to. Paid by, sino bang nagbayad nito? Ito. Natawa naman ako in fairness sa, ano niya, sa mga, wait lang, tanggalin ko itong mga Bitcoin, ano, bumaba naman yung presyo ng Bitcoin. Ay nako, si Kristan, sabi mo diyan, hindi, may chance na umakyat ang Bitcoin price pag nagkaroon ng approval ng ETF. But we'll have a different discussion on Bitcoin soon. Nagbo-monitor lang tayo ng Bitcoin. Ayan, hindi pa ako naka-decide kung Bitcoin ang bibiling ko or isang 4K camera na RX100 or something like that para sa vlogging natin, especially mga international vlogging natin. Ito, balikan natin ito. Okay, ako, baka sabihin nyo, nag-style maharlika ako na ang daming eche boreche, tapos 5 minutes lang yung analysis. Don't worry guys, we're gonna do solid analysis. I'm just warming this up. Okay, ito.
Constitution na sa pagbuo ng 1987 Constitution, naedsa puwera tayo. Sa 1987 Constitution, natigil ang asenso natin. Magandang edukasyon daw para sa lahat. Pero pangako na nigas. Ang pagpasok ng edukasyong dekalidad, EDSA puwera. Masaganang agrikultura daw para sa lahat. Ngunit pangako, napako. Ang pinayaman ng konstitusyon, mamamakyaw at negosyante. Ang magsasaka, EDSA puwera. Malusog na ekonomiya daw para sa lahat. Pero pangako, nahinto. Monopolya ang naghari. Land ownership ng foreign investors, EDSA puwera.
Lahat
Panahon
na
na
lang,
para
sisihin
gumalaw.
natin. Hindi maganda yung...
Panahon na para ayusin. Itama ang hindi patas na 1987 Constitution. Gawing saligang patas, ang saligang batas.
Ayan.
Pero sa pagbuo ng 1987 Constitution, naedsa puwera tayo. Sa 1987 Constitution, natigil ang asenso natin.
Lahat na lang sisisin natin sa iniwan ako ng jowa ko, isisi natin yan sa 1987 Constitution. Hindi maganda yung buhok ko ngayon, isisi natin sa 1987 Constitution. Hindi maganda yung panahon, iniwan tayo ng mga kaibigan. Lahat na lang, yung Bitcoin po, hindi magandang labas kahapon, 1987. Yan po ang problema. Yan po ang problema sa mga kaewanan dyan. Kung saan pinipilit ang isang issue at very problematic yung logic. Alright, very, very problematic yung logic. Because let's not forget, ang problema ng corruption, ang problema ng mga oligarkiya, ang problema ng katrapuhan and political dynasties, hindi po ito ay nahulog sa atin bigla nung nag-sign po tayo, nag-ratify po tayo ng 1997 Constitution. This problem has been with us for more than 100 years. So if you want to go dun sa ugat ng problema, saan nagsimula yung problema ng Pilipinas, you have to go very much to the beginning of introduction of Philippine democracy. Na ibang usapan yan, but I can suggest fantastic works like by Professor John Seidel, for instance, whose contention is that the problem sa Philippines is nung na-introduce ang democratic election sa Pilipinas, the problem was that yung mga na-favor niya immediately ay yung mga political dynasties na from Spanish era pa lang, no? So it immediately allowed for, kasi dati may property rule pa yung mga tao na may property lang pwede bumoto or pwede tumakbo. So you immediately created a first mover's advantage. Or actually structural advantage dun sa mga trapo and mga oligarchs and hacienderos from panon pa ng mga Espanyol. Kasi marami naman sa kanila nag-defect kagad dun sa new imperial power. Once nawalang Spain, dun na sila kagad sa Amerika, di ba? Kaya nga nagwala-wala si General Luna o Bayan o Sarili dahil nga ang daming katrapuan. So ito yung mga principales na naging political dynasty ng panon ng mga Amerikano, sila yung pinaka nag-take advantage ng introduction of semi-democratic elections. So essentially hinijack po nila yung democratic institutions na na-introduce ng mga Amerikano. Ang problema is, in theory, dapat inaayos yan over time. But the problem is that for the next 100 years, whatever constitution na ginawa, whether in constitution sa ilalim ni Marcos or in constitution na ginawa sa ilalim ni Corazon Aquino, one way or another, itong mga oligarchs natin, technically, oligarch means the few bad who rule a country, right? Or a polity, right? So primarily we're talking about economic oligarchs, but also about political oligarchs, political dynasties, for instance, no? So kung titignan mo yan, ang masaklap sa Pilipinas is ang dami natin naging constitution, right? 1935, and then by panahon ni Marcos, 1970s ulit, and then 1987. Pero hindi po nawawala itong problema ng oligarkiya, hindi po nawawala itong problema ng corruption, minsan nga lumala pa. I would say it was even worse in the 70s and 80s. But still, things are really bad in the Philippines. So, logic lang, right? Kung nag-aaral ka ng basic causality, kung paiba-iba yung constitution, pero yung outcome is the same, then siguro hindi talaga yung constitution yung dahilan na ganito yung outcome. Na mas malalim yung ugat ng problema. And para sa akin, this is where we have to be very clear. The problem is that it's not the 1987 constitution per se, although, let me be absolutely clear, I have some concerns with the 1987 constitution. For instance, in theory, para sa akin, mas maganda na isang presidente ay 2 termino maximum, 4 years, every 4 years. So, kung magaling ka sa first 4 years mo, then pwede ka ma-re-elect. Kung palpak ka sa first 4 years mo, and then okay, di ka na ma-re-elect, di ba? O baka yun ang mangyari nga sa US elections this year. Or yung nangyari kay Trump, di ba, noong 2020. So, in theory, I'm okay with 2 4 years because I think a single 6 years term is too long for a bad president. And it's not like every time you can EDSA na lang and ERAP out. Unfortunately, that's like once in a blue moon. So a 6-year term is too long for a bad president, but it's too short for a good president. So I think an 8-year, maximum 8-year system like America or what we had before, or an Indonesian system of 2 5 years. Jokowi was not too bad, and actually andito po siya sa Pilipinas the other days. I think that's better. So I can raise 3 or 4 different concerns I've had with 1987 Constitution, but fundamentally, I don't think the 1987 Constitution ay talagang ugat ng problema natin, and I don't think yung mga few flaws, not trivial, but nevertheless the few flaws that the problems I see with the 1987 Constitution. So isa pa yung problema ko is walang enabling law sa 1987 Constitution pagdating sa anti-dynasty principle sa ating saligang batas. But again, these are actually political problems rather than legal problems. So actually, if you analyze it fundamentally, constitutions are a frozen balance of political relations in a specific time and space. So yung 1987 Constitution, yung kalabasan niyan, ito ay yung reflection ng political calculation ng mga political elites who took over the Philippines after the fall of the Marcos dictatorship. At alam natin, Corazon Aquino and the people who were in charge, they had to deal with all of these trapos, hacienderos, dynasties, oligarchs na biglang are back into power or malapit sila kay Marcos but they didn't pay a price for it. So, in a way, the 1997 Constitution was somehow a kind of a compromise, but more importantly, its spirit and letter was fundamentally compromised by the political oligarchs and economic oligarchs who continue to dominate the Philippines, since not only 1987, they have been, mag-name drop pa tayo dyan. May mga iba tayong mga political dynasties dyan. Mahahanap mo yan sa mga records, 1870s pa lang or 1880s. Panahon pa ng mga Espanyol, andun na sila. Hindi ko na sabihin sino mga yan, but pwede niya i-google yan, di ba? So we have many political dynasties, and we have many conglomerates and oligarchs who go beyond 50 years. Some of them beyond 100 years. So pag sasabihin mo na kasalanan to ng 1997 Constitution, napaka-ewan yung logic na yan, di ba? Because alam natin, mas malalim yung ugat ng problema natin. But I'll tell you another thing. Pagdating sa 1987 Constitution, actually, it has some promise, right? So there are certain provisions about political parties, there are certain provisions about political dynasties, and then of course there are provisions on human rights and mga others. Ang problema kasi natin, mga kahidarian na lang, kasi ang dami natin platform yan, mababash na naman ako sa Reddit, sabi niyan, sa hidarian, kahidarian. Ayan, yung mga kameta natin, ayoko sabing kameta kasi may space tayo, may TikTok tayo, may YouTube tayo. No. Ang problema kasi natin dito is, freedom doesn't come free, right? Freedom comes from constant political struggle. Ang problema parati dito sa Pilipinas is, once nakapasa tayo ng bagong saligang batas, or once tapos ng elections, akala natin tapos ng laban, uwi na tayo, balik ulit, next cycle, right? So, we tend to demobilize politically, always prematurely. So, nag-EDSA 1 na tayo, okay na, tapos na. And then, medyo nag-EDSA 2 na tayo, dapat tapos ng problema. Well, guess what? Kung gusto mo ayusin isang bansa na katulad ng Pilipinas na napakalalim ng problema, napakahigpit yung grip ng mga oligarchs sa ating ekonomiya, sa ating political lines. I'll give you numbers, right? In 2011, 40 families in the Philippines took home 76% of newly created growth. So every 6% of growth we create in our GDP, 4% goes to only 40 families. That's scandalous level of concentration of wealth, right? And I doubt that has dramatically improved over the past 10 years or so. Political lineages, lampas sa 80% ng mga elected offices ay napupunta dyan sa mga political lineages. So, hindi tayo totoong demokrasya dahil yung spirit and letter of the 1997 Constitution was never effectuated, and it was never effectuated because we did not elect the right people into office. So actually, we have a number of problems. One of the problems that we think, ang obligasyon lang natin during election tayo mag-ingay, and then kung nanalo yung manok natin, then okay na. Or kung hindi nanalo yung manok natin, babay na ang Philippines, alis na tayo. Yung ganyang mindset. Well, that's the problem. Even if nanalo yung manok mo, assuming okay na tao yung manok mo, it's not enough that you have the right president there. It's not enough that you have the right senator there, right? Dahil pagdating sa governance, it's a group work. You have to make sure they're the right congressmen there, they're the right governors there, the right mayors there. So ang nagiging masaklap sa Pilipinas is even when we had slightly okay presidents na hindi ganun ka-corrupt, pagdating sa ibang branches of the government, andun pa rin yung mga oligarchs, andun pa rin yung mga problematic people. Kaya kawawang-kawawang Pilipinas. So we never had enough mobilization, pre-election, during election, and post-election to make sure na papaalisin natin talaga yung mga lahat ng mga oligarchs sa state institutions natin at ipapressure natin yung mga economic oligarchs na nagde-dominate na ating ekonomiya. So we always have this problem of premature demobilization and limited cyclical political mobilization. Ito yung constant problem sa Pilipinas. And I'll tell you this, since naging active ako, naging quote-unquote vlogger na tayo, kitang-kita ko yung online eh. Kung titignan mo yung mga videos natin nung election time, some of our videos easily get million views. A single video gets a million views. Political live, Facebook live, no production, whatever. I was amazed by it. Next thing I know, tapos na elections, views come down to 10,000 maximum, right? So real time sa analytics, nakita ko na nawawala ng interes ng tao sa politika once natapos yung elections. Now, I understand people are tired, exhausted, people are demoralized, or nanalo yung manok mo, so happy ka na yung ganun. But that's not how reform works. So if you study reform movements, if you study democratic movements, whether ito yung civil rights movements in South United States, the horrible semi-apartheid system they had back in the day, whether you look at the anti-apartheid movements in South Africa, whether you look at the social democratic movements in Sweden, in Germany, so on and so forth, ito po ay mga decades old, and some of the movements have been centuries old until they get more and more right. So constant struggle po, especially kung yung bansa mo ay sobrang higpit yung hawak ng mga oligarchs sa ating ekonomiya and politika. So this has been the constant problem for us. Now, but the other problem we have is that we focus on the wrong problems. Therefore, we come up with, let's be honest, dumb solutions. So this idea that you just change the constitution and everything automatically will be okay, I mean, that's fourth world thinking, right? System change takes way more than just a different yung sulat mong batas. You need the right institution building to enforce the laws. You need to make sure, you build the foundations of good political parties. You need to make sure you have the right political culture. Lahat yan mahirap yan. So you have to move on multiple fronts, no? In fact, there's a new social science article that came out which has medyo depressing pa nga yung analysis niya, di ba? So, what I'm saying here, mga kameta, is that na-disconnect mahina tong internet ko dito sa Twitter. Anyway, balikan natin. So, what I'm saying here is that the other tendency we have is that we fall for bara-bara solutions or fake solutions. And parang sa medicine yan kung maling diagnostics mo, maling bibigyan mong gamot, lalong lalala yung problema. Hindi mo lang nare-resolve yung problema, lalala pa yung problema. In fact, the way I put it is this: you cannot fix a problem if the fixer is the problem. Right? Common sense. Tingnan nyo to. Kung magkakaroon tayo ng charter change, sino sa tingin nyo ang mag-oversee ng charter change sa Pilipinas? Hindi ba yung mga trapo din na nandyan sa pader? Diba? So sa tingin nyo ba, ganito ito, logic lang sa tingin nyo ba, ang mga trapos, right, will vote for a new constitution that takes them out of power or undermines their power? No. Logically, if they're gonna push for a constitutional change, ang gagawin nila yun, lalong papalakasin nila yung pundasyon ng kanilang puwersa. Lalong maging mahirap ang sitwasyon ng taong bayan in terms of making sure there's more accountability, there's more good governance, there's more democracy. That's just the reality. So, yun nga yung problema natin. First of all, sobrang limited yung political mobilization. Second, ang bilis mag-demobilize ng tao, cyclical lang naging active. Pangatlo, ang sobrang sabla yung expectations natin. Parang nanalo lang yung matinong presidente, akala nyo ma-solve lahat. As if yung presidente lang mismong can solve all the problems. And then, more importantly, kasi lang sinasabi ko, ang dali natin mauto minsan sa mga scam. Yung mga tipong, bigyan niyo akong 6 months lang, isusolve ko yung droga. O yung mga ganyan scam na gano'n. Or yung mga, may bagong scam na naman tayo. Baguhin natin yung salingang batas, magiging Switzerland na tayo. Well, guess what? Parliamentary din ang sistema sa Iraq. Have you seen their political system? Parliamentary din yung system sa Bangladesh. Right? And yung mga nagme-mention ng Malaysia, these people have no idea how messy Malaysian politics is. Right? I mean, I know Malaysian politics pretty okay. I interviewed at least a prime minister or two from that country. I have contacts at at the highest levels. I have friends who know the ins and outs, and they have a very bad politics. No, nagkataon lang swerte lang Malaysia dahil marami silang oil, maliit lang population nila, kaya medyo matino-tino yung bansa nila at magandang location nila. So there are many other reasons that explains why Malaysia is wealthier and more developed than Philippines, except their politics, which is worse than the Philippines. But anyway. I can go to Bangladesh, Iraq, Federalism. Tingnan mo yung Nigeria, tingnan mo yung Brazil. So I can mention you many countries with parliamentary, federal parliament system that sobrang sabog. So yung idea na palitan natin sa ligang batas, gawin natin federalist sa parliament, automatically maging Switzerland tayo, Canada, or whatever, sobrang ridiculous yan. It's like, sinabi ko yan, it's like, di ba, may mga nag-meme dyan yung idea na, di ba kung si Michael Jordan, pag nag-shoot siya, lalabas niya yung dila niya, parang gaganyan, tapos i-shoot niya gano'n. It's like saying, pag nilabas mo yung dila mo, ginaya mo yung forma ni Jordan, maging kasing galing ka ni Jordan. Ganon kasyunga yung ganyan level of analysis na sasabihin mo, by just replicating the shell of a political system, you're automatically gonna achieve the substantive developments inherent to that system. It doesn't work that way. Now, again, just to be fair, I am not against constitutional amendments, and in theory, I'm kind of okay with the idea of parliamentary democracy. But I'll be honest, ayoko magpauto tayo dun sa mga scammers na sinasabi na siguradong masusolve yung problema na yun. There's always the law of unintended consequences. And as I said, one reason I'm very worried about charter change under the current circumstances. So in theory, I'm okay with with constitutional amendments or even to a certain extent. Pero ang tanong ko is under what conditions? Kasi kung papalitan mo yung saligang batas sa ilalim ng mga conditions kung saan ang lalim ng problema ng corruption, questionable intention ng mga legislators mo, and then ngayon merong accusations na may mga bribery daw nangyari to influence, I don't know, people's initiative, whatever, then honestly, do you think ang outcome nito will be really towards a Switzerland clean political system? Come on, mag-isip naman kayo. Mag-isip naman tayo dyan. Okay, now, transition naman tayo dito sa second part ng analysis natin. Because this is where we want to analyze what's happening right now under the current powers that be. Now, interestingly mga kameta, not long ago, parang medyo iba yung inip ng hangin. Let me go to this first. Bago tayo pumunta sa mga accusations laban sa kasalukuyan na administrasyon, tingnan muna natin ang yung position ng ating minamahal na Pangulo. So if you look at President Bongbong Marcos, while he ran for office under the Federalist Party, interestingly, nung unang-una, medyo skeptical siya sa constitutional change. In fact, ito po yung sinabi na dito sa article na yan. Philippines may not be ready for federalism. Bongbong Marcos, ito yung article sa Philippine Daily Inquirer by Gabriel Carriroza noong September 10, 2017. So nung time na tumakbong bilang vice presidente si Bongbong Marcos, doon pa lang sabi niya, for example, how would you form the states? If the process is by administrative region, then we may become, say, an Ilocano state. But what effect would have that in terms of political structures? I mean, if somebody had been chosen to head the state, how will you tell, for instance, Governor Ivy Marcos that she will no longer be the one to be followed by the head of state? So parang it has become that way because this system has long been with us. So nakikita natin si BBM is my skeptical sa federalism. This is time of digong when there was a push for federalism. I think this federated system is not a bad system, it's a good system. We need to examine how it applies, but we have to examine. So dito makikita mo na the president is expressing a lot of misgivings about this lang, hindi siya and actually he's right. I agree with the president na hindi tayo pwede bara-bara lang. And then later, and actually in 2022 during elections, Marcos again said something about federalism, constitutional change, and so he reiterated the skepticism that he had in the past. Ito, January 25, 2022, ito yung article, isa pang article. So, I'm showing to you guys, step by step, yung evolution ng position ng ating minamahal na Pangulo. Diba? And kayo na humusga anong nangyari dito, diba? Bakit ganon? So, actually, this is, pakita ko dito, dun sa mga ka-Twitter, ka-TikTok natin, ka-YouTuber, don't worry, i-upload din natin yan para makita niyo yung analysis. Ito, so 2017, nakita niyo, skeptical, not sure. 2022, ganun na naman. Sabi niya, ito, medyo mahirap daw, maging difficult daw ang transition to federalism. So, again, in principle, kind of okay, pero sabi niya, ito while a federal system may fit the Philippines, amending the constitution may be difficult this time, sabi niya nung tumatakbo siyang bilang presidente. Dun sa isang interview niya sa DZRH, ito yung presidential job interview, ang sinabi ni Marcos Jr., tignan dapat natin ulit ang mga proposal tungkol sa federalismo. Ito ay mukhang babagay para sa atin sa Pilipinas. Ngunit, ang paglipat ng sistema ng gobyerno requires a constitutional amendment. Sa palagay ko, napakahirap ngayon na buksan ang saligang batas dahil ang tao ayaw nila, ang suspetsya nila, ang mga politiko ay mag-extend lang o magka-cancel ng election. Ito, si Presidente mismo nagsabi, bakit ako sa inyo exact quote. So, see, the president, well, back then, presidential candidate, BBM, recognized skepticism ng tao ukol dito sa charter change. Diba? Ito yung sinabi na, diba? Kitang-kita niya. Sa aking palagay, pag-usapan mabuti kung sakali man sumang-ayon ng taong bayan na dapat lumipat tayo sa federalismo at yan ang ninanais ng madla, yun ang ating gagawin. Pero yun, in the meantime, parang medyo skeptical siya. But, medyo iba na yung inip ng hangin later on, diba? At yun yung sa akin very interesting, no? Biglang next thing you know, at sabi ko siguro may kinalaman din yan sa, actually before we go there, tignan nyo rin yung first State of the Nation address ni BBM. In fact, his first two State of the Nation addresses, he didn't mention itong issue ng federalism and constitutional change. In fact, dun sa first State of the Nation address niya, nagkaroon ng away yung dalawang malaking anchors dyan sa SMNI, si Kibuloy, Pastor Kibuloy, at saka si Mike Abe, dahil nga, yung isa dyan, hindi siya natuwa na hindi minention yung mga pet peeves ng Duterte camp, ng mga pro-Duterte, at isa dyan, yung issue ng federalismo. In fact, si Robin Hood Padilla din, isa sa mga hindi natuwa na hindi na-mention yung masyadong federalismo dahil yun talaga yung kanyang expertise. Of course, expert naman si Robin Padilla sa constitutional change. Siya nga yung Senate Constitutional Amendments, chair. Alright. Siguro na ng mga vlogs ni ganitong ganyan, then okay na, expert na tayo. Okay. So, dito nakita natin actually way into 2023, malabo yung position ni BBM dito sa issue ng constitutional change. Dahil gets niya yung gets din natin, di ba? But, biglang iba na yung inip ng hangin by approaching the third quarter of last year as yung Hidwan sa Unity may medyo uminit-init, di ba? So here suddenly the president is saying, okay, now we're taking the first steps towards constitutional change, in this case, federalism. Right? So makikita natin na by third quarter of last year, the president is taking a position openly in saying that we're already moving towards devolution and preparation of the government for constitutional change. And then things really got serious when yung kanyang pinsan, right-hand man niya, at isa sa mga pinaka-influential figures in the Philippines, top 4, top 5, si Martin Romualdez said na ipa-prioritize ng House yung Chacha sa kasalukuyan na taon, right? So ang sinabi niya is, I believe 2024 will allow us again to revise the whole constitution of a whole issue of the Constitution. We'd like to focus very much on the economic provisions, but even to get there, we have to look at the procedural aspects of the amendment Constitution. So, one of the things they're looking at is people's initiative. Because alam nila na medyo may magkakaroon ng pushback from the Senate, including independent senators, independent-minded senators, and opposition senators like, well, not Coco Pimentel, but from Rizal Tiveros, sa mga others, then iniisip nila, magpo-people initiative na sila. So, this is the context wherein suddenly you have itong mga buljakan or mga supposed expose. Now, one of them is no less than presidential sister and senator, Amy Marcos, who we know, of course, is very close to President Duterte. Right? I don't know about the other side, but she's very supportive and close to President Duterte. And ayon kay Senator Amy Marcos, up to 20 million pesos daw was reportedly, allegations to, was offered to each congressional district that could deliver yung number of signatures to support the charter change being pushed dyan sa House of Representatives. Of course, galit na galit si Amy daw dito sa alleged offer, noting yung pera niya ay dapat sana binigyan na lang sa DOLE, sa DOLE, sa DOH, sa DSWD. Sabi niya, I even heard that big cities were also promised to receive 20,000 if they can produce, I think this is 20 million, right? Kulang ng zero dito. 20 million if they can produce 20,000 signatures by many newly elected barangay captains were ordered to produce 20,000 signatures by the weekend so they could receive goodies from this. Ito, pakita natin yung exact quote niya para mabasa niyo on your own. Sabi niya, I condemn, no? I condemn daw. Condemn. Na hindi naman daw. Kinondemn daw niya. Kinondemn niya. Okay. Ito. Ito yung sinabi ni Amy Marcos. So, just be absolutely clear about what they're saying. So, malaki nga. Kasi nakita ko yun sa mga ka-DDS natin. Sinishare yan kagabi eh. Alright. So, sabi niya, I condemn the offer because our constitution is not for sale. Apparently, they offer the DSWD assistance to individuals in crisis situations, DOLE's tupat or tulong paghanap buhay sa ating disadvantaged displaced workers, at saka yung DOH medical assistance to indigent patients program. So, nagkakaroon daw ng mga reallocations. Sabi niya, clearly somebody's holding the budget. We know the power of the purse rests with the Congress. Actually, rests with yung preposition. Maybe those with access to or control over the funds. I'm just saying, why do they have the courage to offer something like this? Is our constitution now for sale? This is shameless. Well, actually, you know, I don't know about the allegations. I haven't seen the evidence myself, but if this were true, I agree with Amy Marcos that dapat hindi for sale yung issue ng saligang batas. Napaka-sensitive ito, napakalaki ang maging implication na ito para sa ating bansa at saka ating demokrasya. But interestingly, just when you thought maybe it's really one camp, I was also wondering what will the real opposition say? No, yung mga progressive liberals, anong sasabihin nila? So interestingly, nakita ko kanina, one of the opposition leaders, and I think the current leader of the Liberal Party, si Congressman Lagman, also had an intervention in this regard. Medyo parang next level pa yung buljakan niya eh, 'di ba? Dito sa expose niya. So ito. Ito. Pakinggan natin mga kameta. Para tingnan niyo man sa kabila. Wait lang. Nangyari. Ito So ito yung expose ni Edsel Lagman, 'di ba? Ito.
Players in my district. This is the form Sa dokumentong ipinakita ni Albay 1st District Representative Ed Selagman sa CNN Philippines, 125,000 pesos ang ibinigay umano sa isang mayor para bayaran ng tig-100 piso ang kada constituent na pipirma sa petisyon para amyendahan ang konstitusyon.
The name of the mayor, the municipality, then this is to acknowledge the receipt of the following for the People's Initiative. Another municipality got 142,000 and the third municipality got 175,000. Three of the mayors in my district already returned the amounts.
Nangyari raw ang bigayan sa isang meeting ng mga mayor ng Albay noong January 5, bagay na itinanggi ni Mayor Raymond Adrian Salceda, presidente ng Albay chapter ng League of Municipalities of the Philippines. Sa ilalim ng People's Initiative, pwedeng ipetisyon ng taong bayan na baguhin ang saligang batas kung may pirma ng 12% ng registered voters. Dapat pumirma ang 3% ng lahat ng botante kada distrito. Kumalat na rin sa social media ang petisyong pinapipirmahan umano sa mga botante para baguhin ang saligang batas sa pamamagitan ng joint voting ng Senado at Kamara. Mariing tinututulan ng mga senador ang pamamaraang yan.
This would fast-track the amendments to be proposed by the Constituent Assembly because the numerically superior number of representatives will definitely overwhelm the pure number of senators.
Mismong kapatid ng Pangulo na si Senador Amy Marcos, may nakalap na impormasyon na milyon-milyong piso raw ang ipinapangakong pondo sa mga distrito gamit ang ilang social assistance programs ng gobyerno, basta't maabot nila ang sapat na pirma.
20 million total kada distrito ang inaalok. Pinagutusan ang napakaraming bagong halal na mga barangay kapitan na mag-produce ng mga lagda na 20 mil by weekend para sila mabigyan nitong sinasabing DSWD, DOH at DOLE na mga goodies. Napakaliwanag nung offer at kinukondena ko talaga yung nag-aalok nito dahil hindi binibenta ang ating konstitusyon, hindi siya for sale.
Ani Marcos, balitang-balita ito sa Ilocos, Bicol at Central at Eastern Visayas. Sa tanong kung sino ang nasa likod nito,
We know that the power of the purse rests with Congress, so baka yung may access talaga at some semblance of suasion and control over the funds.
duda rin si Lagman sa idinagdag ng Bicameral Conference Committee na 12 billion pesos sa budget ng Commission on Elections para sa mga eleksyon, referendum at plebisito.
A charter change rampage has surfeit of funds. Embedded in the 2024 General Appropriations Act is the total amount of about 14 billion.
Para kay Senate Minority Leader Coco Pimentel, dapat mag-imbestiga ang PNP, NBI, DILG, Kongreso at maging non-government organizations. Kung public funds ang ginamit sa panunuhol, dapat daw managot ang mga nasa likod nito sa ilalim ng Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. Pero ano pa mang source ng pondo, hindi na raw ito maituturing na lehitimong People's Initiative, kundi pera-pera lang.
Yun. So, eto na ang concern ngayon ng mga iba't ibang panig, including si Amy Marcos, Esa Lagman, Coco Pimentel. So, ayan, may mga ka-DDS dyan, may mga kakamping dyan. Lahat sila nag-express ng concern na baka i-railroad itong constitutional change at ang mangyari dyan is gamitin yung mga pondo ng gobyerno to create a positive enticement. Ito yung allegations. Again, we're not confirming it. I'm just saying, ito yung allegations na galing sa mga iba't ibang kampo who actually are not necessarily on the same page on almost every other issue. So kaya ang sinasabi natin mga ka-method dito is, of course, may mga sabi ko nga, may mga iba dyan na tuwan-tuwa dun sa mga hidwan, sa ilalim ng unit team. May mga nagpapa-comment sa akin dun sa kinakain ni Digong. Mamaya ko naman yan, nag-aasaran na yata naman sila. Pulvoric pa yan, ano yan? Ano yung... ano yun? Pulvoron. Kumakain ng Mamaya na natin patulan yung kay tatay. Oh. May bukas na lang. Separate topic na itong polvoron. Balikan natin itong mga asaran niyan. And of course, set up tayo isa pang R&R soon. Marami tayong mga catch-up dito. Well, I turned out correct. Sabi ko nga, si BBM, he's gonna try to massage things down dahil, time is on his side. So, he doesn't have, incentive to push the nuclear bottom at this point in time. But pag-usapan natin polvoron soon. Siguro, in a separate meta. On that note, thank you very much mga minamahal natin mga followers on different platforms. Of course, yung mga YouTubers natin, ka-YouTubers natin, mga kameta natin. Unfortunately, dito sa mahina yung signal ko dito sa space kaya nawala siya bigla. At of course, dito sa sa TikTok. Yes, lahat yan. Thank you so much dun sa mga followers natin. Please continue to support us and magbigay ka ng suggestion, etc. As I said, we were hoping to also transition into doing something different, medyo more lifestyle travel plus society and culture. So, if may mga technical advice kayo, mga things, what is the affordable way, mga gadgets, ganun, please also go ahead. Thank you very much. God bless and talk to you soon. Tuloy-tuloy lang itong discussion na ito. At least I hope now you have an overall view ng evolution ng position ni BBM sa issue ng constitutional change, ano yung mga problematic circumstances, ang mga angles dito sa Chacha. And now, interestingly, both DDS and kakamping people, both of them are very critical of this move. And there's a fear that after 2025, baka ma-railroad yung constitutional change and with very troubling implications. Again, I'm totally for fixing the problem, but you never fix the problem if the problem is the fixer. Alright, on that note, thank you very much mga kameta. Talk to you soon. God bless and have a good evening.